Welcome to the Jaguar Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
42, set, play!
Duval, baby! Hey everybody, it's Andrew and welcome to episode 120 of the Jaguar Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be discussing the trade of defensive end Yannick Ngakoue to the Minnesota Vikings and the waiving of running back Leonard Fournette. So let's jump into it. Man, what a week. Not a way to start off a Monday. Hearing that, Yannick Ngakoue has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings and then we lose one of our best offensive players, Leonard Fournette. And I just feel like every year the Jaguars continually beat me down. It is really hard to be a Jaguars fan right now. And a lot of people are upset about this. And, I feel like the Jaguars organization's on fire right now. Let's start off with the Yannick Ngakoue deal. I don't like this deal at all. And I'll tell you why. I had to listen to Dave Caldwell, talk about how we weren't going to take anything more than a first round pick for Yannick Ngakoue. Did we get a first round pick? No. What did we get? We got a second round pick in next year's draft and a conditional fifth in the 2022 draft, I believe. Terrible deal in my opinion. We should have gotten a first round pick for him, but we didn't. And it's just gotten so out of control in the front office for Jacksonville that Yannick Ngakoue takes a pay cut essentially to get out of Jacksonville. It's that bad. It is just that bad. I can't fault Yannick Ngakoue either. I mean, it's just a total show over there. And I understand why he wants to leave. The Jacksonville front office could have gotten this deal done a long time ago. But what did they do? In the 2018 training camp, they screwed around. They didn't work out a deal with Yannick Ngakoue. And which is kind of funny because Yannick Ngakoue would have actually made more money if they had just squared away his deal, but they didn't. So Yannick Ngakoue plays the next season, 2019 season, without a contract. Has a great season. Plays very well. And, they go through this whole drama with the franchise tagging and waiting too long, in my opinion, to, get the trade done if they needed to get it done. And it was clear as day that they needed to get this done sooner rather than later. And what did they do? They waited later. And guess what? We got a crappy deal. We got a second round pick and a conditional fifth. And we're weaker as a team. We're weaker as a defense, really. And it's just, it's like I said, it's tough to be a Jaguars fan right now. But, Yannick Ngakoue, his body of work speaks for it. Do I think that he, deserved $20 million? No. But the whole point is you have to negotiate. You have to work things out. This clearly fell through. Everybody knows it. I wasn't surprised when he was traded. I think what I was more upset about is the shitty deal that we got in exchange for him. Excuse my language. I know I try not to use that type of language on this podcast, but it's gotten to that point where it's just so frustrating right now to be a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. So he goes to Minnesota. I wish Yannick Ngakoue the best of luck. He's a guy that is a hard worker. He does his job. I don't agree how he handled kind of the square off with Tony Khan on Twitter. I didn't think that was really a smart move on his part.
Idiot!
But I guess he was desperate at that point because the Jacksonville front office is so freaking stubborn. They can't get things done. And I swear, it's like I live in Washington, D.C., or near the Washington, D.C. area. I actually live in Virginia, but I'm pretty close to the Washington football team training facilities. And I'm very close to the whole fiasco that's going on in that organization. And let me tell you what, we are going down that similar path right now. We really are. Shad Khan is not showing his fans much. And it's very frustrating. He's taken plays out of the Dan Snyder playbook. And it is not the right move. I was watching TV yesterday. I was watching ESPN, and Keyshawn Johnson summed it up perfectly. You know what he said? He said, Jacksonville can't get out of their own way. And it's totally true. The culture in Jacksonville sucks right now. It's terrible as a football organization. Everybody knows it. You know, the whole Tom Coughlin situation spun out of control. And then all of this stuff starts coming out about the NFLPA complaints. Nobody wants to come to Jacksonville right now. What are you doing, Shad? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to, as a business, attract the top talent? Because right now you're not. And to make matters worse, we cut running back Leonard Fournette. We cut him at almost, after training camp ends. Why do that? What is the value in keeping the guy around for training camp? And I'm especially upset about this, and I will admit outright that I'm a Leonard Fournette fan. So there's some bias here in me. So take that into account. But you cannot argue that the guy was an offensive weapon on that football field for Jacksonville. It is undisputed. He had one bad year. He had a bad year in 2018. He had some problems with his weight. He had some off-field stuff going on with not showing up to, I think, a team photo and getting pulled over for speeding or suspended license or something like that. Don't quote me. I think it was something on the lines of that. Then there was the fight, in Buffalo, and that was out of control. And but Leonard explained it, and you know what? I feel like he cleaned up his act in 2019. And, rushed for 1,100 yards, 500 yards reception that he had. 500 receptions, sorry. That is definitely better than one, the year that he had in 2018. Two, he was in a terrible system. That was a dysfunctional team last year. They managed to get 6 wins. I know it's not a lot, but the guy played well. To have 1,100 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving in that offense, with everything that was going on, with Nick Foles going down, with Gardner Minshew, a rookie 6th-round quarterback, coming in and taking the reins and playing well. With that offensive line, let's talk about that. That offensive line, Andrew Norwell, terrible. Getting pushed into the backfield, causing fumbles for Gardner Minshew because he got pushed back into him during the Carolina game. The lack of just holes to run through. I think Leonard Fournette got so much hate is because of the touchdowns, the number of touchdowns he had. It's not his fault. You know why? Because Leonard Fournette doesn't call the plays. John DeFilippo calls the plays. So we have to start holding people accountable in Jacksonville. It's got to be in the front office, and it's got to be with the coaching staff. But Leonard doesn't call the plays. He just runs the plays. And their goal line play calling was putrid last season. Awful. So I don't know how you can pin the blame on Leonard Fournette. You know why I think he gets a lot of hate? And I'll tell you this. It's because of the fantasy football players. That's why. The people who play fantasy, touchdowns for a player affects the amount of points that you get in fantasy. That's the reason why he gets so much hate. It's not because of his skills as a running back. Why I think Leonard was also such an asset to this offense is he could pass block. The guy could pick up linebackers and blitzes and help Gardner Minshew not get his head ripped off because the offensive line sucks. And, you know, I'm hearing so many mixed messages from this organization. I swear, you know, they go to their fan base and they say, we want to win now. That's what Shad said last year. Shad said that we want to win right now. Okay. So you want to win now. Okay, we go in. The way we drafted, I wasn't particularly impressed with our draft. I think we could have surrounded Gardner Minshew with better offensive linemen. Starting with the left tackle position. Cam Robinson has not been reliable for the time that he's been here. He has been hurt. He didn't have a very good season in 2019. Jawan Taylor played about as good as he did. And he's a rookie. So, there you go, right? And Cam Robinson, coming up on his last year of his deal, what are we going to do? Are we going to pay him? Are we going to trade him? Well, I could tell you what, we sure as hell could have traded him. We could have traded him, and we could have traded Andrew Norwell. Tons of people that we could have traded to get the Yannick Ngakoue deal done. Or we could have traded him with Leonard Fournette if he really didn't fit into the system. But I think that's bullshit. Excuse my language again. But I think that's total BS. And I'll tell you why. This organization has not been shooting straight with their fans for a while. And it happened with the whole Tom Coughlin debacle and how we want to build a culture. We all know that's not true. The culture's terrible in Jacksonville right now. And when Doug Marrone came out and he did his press conference and was like, well, we just couldn't get Leonard to fit into our system, right? That's crap. That's a total passing the buck by the organization to Leonard Fournette and pinning the blame on him. When as a coach, as an offensive coordinator and a head coach, it's your job to make your assets on the field work with your system. And you're going to tell me they can't make Leonard Fournette be an asset out there is total crap. John DeFilippo did it last year. He had Leonard Fournette lining up in the slot as a wide receiver. Caught, 52 receptions, 500 plus yards receiving. So he was able to make it work. What I don't understand is why Jay Gruden can't make it work and why Doug Marrone can't make it work. And why was Doug able to make it work for 2 seasons and not now? That's the $1 million question. I think what it really is, what it boils down to is Doug is being sent out, like he has in the past, by the front office to do their bidding and their dirty work. And I feel sorry for Doug. I don't think Doug's going to be around much longer as a head coach. I think Doug is a good guy. But I think Dave Caldwell and Shad and Tony Khan are sending him out to do the dirty work. And it's no different than when Tom Coughlin was here. He was doing the same thing. You didn't see Tom Coughlin out there making, explanations of why he wanted to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. You didn't see it. And it's the same thing. This organization has not changed. The culture still stinks. They can't get out of their own way. I mean, this whole situation really was a punch in the gut to me, and I'm sure the fans. I had to wait a little bit before I did this episode because I just wanted to kind of digest my thoughts on this, but if you want to win as a football team, how is getting rid of all of your good veteran players? Calais Campbell's another one. I mean, my God, they can't renegotiate the contract with Calais. I'm sure he would have stayed. But who knows what's going on inside? I'm not inside the locker room. I can only speculate. I have a few ideas, though. I think a lot of us are onto something. And it's a total show. So I don't know how getting rid of Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue and Leonard Fournette and, Allen Robinson, Tommy Bohannon, all these guys, not resigning them or trading them, AJ Bouye. How does that make Jacksonville a better football team at the end of the day? It doesn't. That's the answer. So they're not showing a good look here. They're not putting the most amount of weapons around Gardner Minshew so that he could be successful. That's the bottom line. They should have done it with the offensive line. They didn't. So now we have running back Chris Thompson back there. He's our starting running back. A guy who's been in the league for 8 years. He's about $190. He's not a very big guy. He's not a Leonard Fournette. I mean, what? Leonard Fournette's like 220. The guy could pass block. I mean, you're going to put Chris Thompson back there and expect him to block for Gardner Minshew when they blitz him? Hell no. The guy's going to get killed. It's going to be like that picture again where Gardner Minshew's getting his helmet knocked off. I hope it doesn't happen. I like Gardner, but they're not giving him a lot of help. So it'll be interesting to watch. That's all I can say. We'll be lucky if we win 3 games next season, or this season rather. And it's just tough for the fans. This organization, bottom line, has no vision. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. They're just doing things, but they don't know what they're doing. That's what I've concluded. And who knows? Maybe they want to move the team to London. I don't know. Honestly, I don't. But they're taking a lot of pages out of that Washington football team or Dan Snyder playbook, like I said. It's not looking good. And that's the bottom line. So I am not sure what's going to happen this season. I think what'll be ironic, what'll really make me laugh is Leonard Fournette if he goes to the Steelers. That would be just hysterical to me. And to watch him, I think we play the Steelers this year. So to watch him run all over us, man, that would be irony, right? But I mean, to let this guy walk, Leonard Fournette on waivers, what the hell were the Jaguars thinking? These things don't make sense at all. And I called in to Brett Martineau and Austin Lane's show on ESPN, and I tried to pick their brains on this, try to understand where Brent was thinking that they weren't setting Gardner up for failure. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think they are. And there's a lot of talk now that the Jaguars may be tanking for Trevor Lawrence. And that, Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence, they're going to be a team, a duo together in Jacksonville. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Idiot!
Why would Dabo Swinney want to come to this organization and leave Clemson? He's got it made there. He's got a good organization. He's got a school that's behind him. He's got a good program. They're winning games. Why would he want to come and deal with the BS here in Jacksonville? And I know there's the money factor, but I mean, sometimes money isn't everything, right? So I don't know, man. It's tough to be a Jaguars fan right now. So our backfield is looking like Devine Ezigbo, Chris Thompson, and then, Rock Armstead. And I mean, based on their body of work, I'm not, too optimistic about it. And, I think Chris Thompson is really a receiving back. I've said this in previous episodes. And he's going to be a guy that catches passes in the flats. He's not going to be a blocking back like Leonard Fournette, though. That's definitely not going to happen. And maybe that's why they brought Bruce Miller in. I don't know. I don't know what their direction is, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. And let me tell you this. If you're trying to build a culture in Jacksonville, why would you sign a guy like Bruce Miller? Does that make any sense to me or you? No, it doesn't, right? A guy that had a lot of off-the-field battles, had a spousal battery charge, got into a fight with a elderly man and his son in a hotel. And why would you bring a guy like that? He's also been out of the league for 3 to 4 years. So you bring in a guy like that and you're trying to build a culture in the locker room. Does that make any sense? It really doesn't to me. I mean, I thought, and I was talking about this with Phil Smith and James Johnson from the Believe in the Jaguars podcast, that maybe it was because they were trying to build a running game, a power running game, kind of like what they had with Tommy Bohannon and Leonard Fournette. But it doesn't look like that. Maybe they're bringing him in for pass protection. That might be another reason. But, I just don't, if we want to win, I just don't understand these changes. I don't understand why we bring in Jay Gruden. Some people say, it's because they think Doug's going to get fired and Jay can be the head coach. That's a terrible idea. And that didn't work either in Washington. We all know Jay's not head coaching material right now. So I don't know why they thought that was going to be a good idea. It didn't work in Washington. So it's probably not going to work in Jacksonville either. And like I said, it's like the definition of insanity. Doing the same things and expecting different results. It's not going to work in Jacksonville. So I don't know what to say. I know this is a long rant. I'm really sad to see Leonard Fournette go from the Jags. I think he's a good guy. I think he's changed his ways. He's become more mature as a football player. All the stuff he does outside of football. I wish him the best, but man, is this Jacksonville organization dysfunctional. That's all I can take away from this. And Gardner Minshew, man, I wish him the best too. It's going to be an uphill battle for him.
Just heart and balls, man. Heart and balls.
And I hope that he can get the job done. And we'll see what happens. But it's got to be a toxic environment right now. If you are an employee for the Jacksonville Jaguars, if you're a player in that locker room, you got to be thinking about it, right? I don't understand how this helps anything. I mean, there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of probably dissension or questioning what's going on inside this organization and the decisions that are being made by the top executives and the direction that the team's taking. It's got to be up in the air. I mean, I can imagine right now. And I just, again, I do not understand what the Jaguars were thinking here. Because Fournette was on his last year of his deal. Why not just let the guy finish out his contract? He's going to help you on the football field. You can't debate that. I'm sorry, guys, you can't. You cannot debate that he helps you with pass blocking. He helps you in the flats. He helps you take pressure off of Gardner Minshew. Man, it's it's a tough time right now. Tough to be a Jaguars fan. A lot going on this week. I put out a lot of content, and I really honestly didn't want to make this episode because it's just upsetting, but we'll see what happens. Stay strong. Leave a comment on the YouTube video or podcast episode. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Come by Apple Podcast. Leave me a review and some feedback. It always helps me when I put together these episodes. Stay strong, stay safe, don't go crazy. Go Jags, and I'll see you next time.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagwarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.